Welcome back to the Mina Show featuring Lenny. War Room Mock Draft. 3rd edition. I am joined by the one, the only, the author of The Beast, which just came out. Dane Brugler, how are you feeling now that your baby is out in the universe?
It's part excitement, part anxiety, or just you work on something for a year and then share it with everybody. But the feedback's been awesome. It's been really cool to share with everybody and get all the feedback. And not everyone will agree with my rankings, and that's fine. Yeah, but I think people are enjoying all the background information and some of the stats that are in there. So hopefully people have it by their sides for all 3 nights of the draft.
It is essential. You guys can find it at theathletic.com. I'm sure it's front and center there. And I love it too for not just the rankings, but like the deep dives into literally every player pretty much. So, because on my pod, we only really talk about the first few rounds. And it's, for me, so valuable in learning about some of the guys that I don't frankly get to watch before the draft. So fully recommend folks go get The Beast. Cannot recommend it enough. Dane, so glad to have you back to do this again. One of my favorite things I do all year long. I've been doing it now for many years. We do an entire mock draft. I give you 2 choices, including trades, and I have some new trades in here. You do tell me what you would do, not what you think the NFL is going to do. And let's get started. I'm going to kick this off by giving you the exact same offer that I gave Daniel Jeremiah for pick 1, which is, of course, the Raiders pick. Just because I feel like it's the only thing that makes this interesting. Pick 1, your choices are Fernando Mendoza, quarterback out of Indiana, or, this isn't going to happen, but the Arizona Cardinals are offering you pick 3. So you're only going down just a couple spots. So you're going to get, one of you have your choice of things. Pick their second rounder and then a first and a second next year as well. So it's a pretty big haul, but it's not as massive as some, but it's big. It's a big one. Would you do that if you were Las Vegas?
Yeah, I think it has to. It'd be appealing. Obviously, it'd be an attractive move to make. But this has been a team in the quarterback wilderness here. I think you have Fernando Mendoza staring you in the face. I could not do it. I would stick and pick. I would take the guy that, he's not Caleb Williams, he's not Drake May, or, he's just a different type of quarterback prospect, but his superpower is understanding how to beat the defense and then in crunch time, making the big play over and over and over. So I'm going to trust that that's going to translate to the next level and he'll be a top 12 quarterback in the league. So I'm going to stick and pick with Mendoza.
All right, Mendoza it is. So you're not even seduced by the possibility that the Cardinals are going to be probably bad and it's going to be a good draft pick next year. I know you're already watching next year's class. Stick by your pick. I just want to hear a little bit more.
Well, no, and I think it's fair that's why you have to think about it, because just at the combine, when talking to teams, I was kind of blown away how often the 2027 quarterback class came up just organically, not even me bringing it up. And that's something that NFL teams do. They advance scout, and next year's class looks a lot more promising, but we know how that works out. Last year, we were saying the same thing about this year's class. And so no sure things. You might have, pick 4 next year. Cardinals might be picking 6. So you have the 4th and 6th picks. Great. But there might be 3 quarterbacks and the 3 teams in front of you aren't interested in trading. So there's just no guarantee that, it's that option 2 is going to be any more appealing. So I'm not going to go away from what's staring me in the face right here.
I think that's totally fair. All right. The Jets are second. I'm not going to go off the reservation too much from what I've been doing, because I do think this is a very important discussion, or at least one that everybody is going back and forth on right now, which is which of the edge rushers are you taking if you're the New York Jets? I am going to give you the choice between David Bailey and Arvell Reese.
Okay.
I know you've got your rankings and thoughts in the Beast, so that might affect this. Who would you take?
I'm an Arvell Reese guy. He's been my number 1 player in the draft since October, and there's no reason for me to go off that now. And I know this is what I would do, but just thinking about the Jets and hearing Aaron Glenn talk this offseason, talking about wanting to have more of a hybrid presence to the draft, to their defense and how they attack. I think Arvell Reese, that's exactly what he gives you. And I get it. Box score scouts aren't necessarily going to love Reese because the 10 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks. But when you watch the tape and see what he was asked to do, where one play he's setting an edge, the next play he's spying or being an A gap blitzer or just being a stacked back or just all the different things you can do with Arvell Reese. I know that scares some people not having that exact role in
Yeah.
place, but I'm not worried about him being jack of all trades, master of none. I really think if you want to be a every down pass rusher, hand on the ground, I think he can do it. You want him to drop in space, I think he can do that. So I'm going to lean Reese.
The Jets are really interesting to me because from the outside, it seems like a GM and a coach who might be on different timelines.
Right.
You have a new GM with an absolute boatload of draft picks. And through that lens, Reese is the high upside potential, needs some development as a pass rusher pick. But then you got a head coach who kind of has to win. Do you feel like Glenn, and you talked about maybe him being a little bit more comfortable with a hybrid player than folks might think, would want Arvell? Like, do you think he would view Arvell Reese as the guy who can contribute immediately?
I think so, and I think you have to be encouraged by everything Matt Patricia asked him to do. Yes, it showcases his athleticism, his physicality. I think it also showcases how smart he is as a player. Where all the communication that has to be done between Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese to understand responsibilities and to be in that spot, and then just the unselfish nature of okay, I'm going to set an edge and spill all this production to my teammates. So, and look, I get it. David Bailey is an appealing player, but it's not like David Bailey is this can't miss pass rush
Yeah.
or can't miss player just because of, do teams really believe he can hold up as an every down player? Some teams are a little more mixed on that. You see the juice off the edge as a pass rusher, but do you feel 100% confident that he's going to be able to set an edge and be someone you can rely on, snap in, snap out against the run? So I'm going to lean Arvell Reese here, and it'll be interesting to see if the Jets end up feeling the same way, or if they. I'd certainly understand if they went Bailey because of how explosive he is, but eager to find out how it plays out.
I think it's a cool draft because after pick one, the next six,
Yeah,
7 picks, maybe 5 picks could go in literally any direction till you get to the Cleveland Browns. All right. Well, that certainly is true for the Arizona Cardinals. I have not seen a consensus anywhere on what they're
yeah.
going to do. You could address trenches on both sides of the ball. So I'm going to
Hmm.
give you a choice on both sides of the ball. And I've been
Okay.
giving folks pretty similar choices to this, but I've gotten different answers thus far. One is going to be David Bailey, who's still
Okay.
there as pass rusher. The other choice is going to be Francis Maunoa, the tackle out of Miami. Arizona
Hmm.
Cardinals, maybe we'll hear from them later in terms of a quarterback. So, got to wonder, is that something they want to help that side of the ball? I don't know. What would you do?
So yeah, this is a tough one because I think that I would lean the tackle in Maui Noah, but if I'm sticking to my board, should I go more the pass rusher? I think I'm gonna stick with my board and go Bailey. I think that Maui Noah makes a lot of sense if they went right. They could use that upgrade at right tackle. Pair him with Paris Johnson. You got the bookends for whoever's gonna be playing quarterback. I think Spencer Fano is also worth having as part of that conversation if they're going to go offensive line. But I think that this is more of you're uh, chasing upside, also chasing a guy that's going to come in from day one and really give you a little extra on getting after the quarterback. And so, him and Bain were kind of neck and neck for the most pressures this year in college football. Bain actually finished with two more. It's like 83 to 81. But Bain also had 180 more pass rush attempts
Yeah.
than Bailey. So just kind of a glimpse into how more efficient he was getting after the quarterback. And I mean, you watch that Oregon game in the playoffs, it felt like he put it all on him. Like, okay, I got to win this game by myself. The offense isn't helping. And so I'm just going to try and tee off on the quarterback. And, he was almost able to pull it off. But yeah, he's a good player.
And you get into this in the Beast, but do you feel like the perception around the league is that Bailey isn't going to be an every down defensive lineman? Like, is there like what is the level of? Because it is interesting, and I've talked about this a little bit. I'm going to talk about it in detail on Wednesday with Dominique. I don't. My take is that he's not like it's not. I can't. How do I put this? there are reps where he tries against the
Yes.
run. There's just some very ugly games mixed in.
And I don't think I'm worried about, like the effort as much. It's more about just understanding where he needs to be, the leverage.
Mhm.
He has length, so using that length to his advantage when you're taking on blocks, and just staying a step ahead. When you're rushing the passer, it's like you're the aggressor, right? You're going to dictate the action. Where in the run game, that's where maybe he's just not as comfortable. And so I think teams are encouraged by the jump he made this year. At Stanford, he was basically a sub down player because they didn't really trust him on those early downs, the run downs. And where Texas Tech, he played every down, and I thought he took a pretty big jump. And so I think you have to be encouraged by that. And to your point, he doesn't need to be this high level run defender. Can you just be serviceable? And I think he
Yeah.
can get there.
Okay, I'm gonna give you pick 4 now. It's the Tennessee Titans,
Okay.
but the phone is ringing.
Oh, okay.
The Dallas Cowboys are on the phone.
Okay.
They've got 2 first-round picks, and they are obsessed with Sonny Styles, and they are
Yeah.
terrified that the Giants are gonna take him at pick 5. So if you're the Titans, this is just straight up. You pick up pick 20 and move down to 12. The Cowboys get pick 4, and they're gonna take Sonny Styles. Your alternative is to take Reuben Bain Jr., the pass rusher, very much so an area of need. So, Titans fans, sorry, the Jeremiah Love is not an option here. Uh, what would you do?
Oh man, that's tough. Because if you're the Cowboys, you're already missing a second round pick, and so to give up both of your ones to go up and get an
I
off
can't
ball
like
linebacker
I know, I'm sorry,
is
Cowboys fans are you know what? Okay, you're gonna get, I'll add a little bit of a sweetener.
okay.
The Titans have to send you a 3rd back
Okay,
to make it a little bit
that
less inequitable, sorry. Yeah, now that I was so thinking about it, yeah. Okay, so the Cowboys, you're giving up 12, 20, you get 4, but you also get a 3rd back.
okay. And I'm making this decision if I'm
You're the
not if I'm the
Titans. So
Cowboys, then the
you're the Titans.
Titans.
Yeah, yeah. So
Right,
you're
right.
giving up a 3rd. So you're getting picked 12 and 20. You are giving up a 3rd, but obviously that's still quite a bit of value to get back
Yeah.
versus
And
Bane.
so Ruben Bain would be, and I like Ruben Bain. I'm not as high on Bain as others, um, for reasons more than just the length. Um, let's do that trade. I think it makes sense. Yeah, the Titans are a team that are still rebuilding this thing, and you want to help out your quarterback, your young quarterback. You want to get better in a few different areas. I think they can do that in this first round, and I think it makes a ton of sense if you're the Cowboys. I don't think there's someone on the roster right now they feel great about wearing the green dot. And so you think about the Christian Parker defense and wanting to have a hybrid nature to it. And Sonny Styles can give you a lot of different things. And so getting back a 3rd as well, give me that an extra day 2 pick is pretty important because I only have one to begin with. And so I like that for the Cowboys. And for the Titans, I like the opportunity to move back and get another first round pick in the process.
When I first started the draft at the combine, which is when I first saw you on TV, before the combine, we were like, Sonny Styles, pick 12, Dallas, it's a
Yeah.
dream. And then the combine happened, and I was like, a dream that'll never happen. But it was such a
Yeah.
perfect fit. Like, he's just literally everything they need on D, everything they've been missing, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
it's a
Well, and
lot. It's a lot, but
I think you're right to the Cowboys as this. You look at who they're bringing in. It's Arvell Reese, it's Caleb Downs, it's Sonny
yeah.
Styles. Like if there's a team that's going to move up in this draft, it feels like it could be the Cowboys, and whether it's the Browns at 6, Titans at 4.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
looked at the
think there's
Browns as well. I was like,
yeah, and that's the Browns. With two things we know about this draft: Mendoza's going 1, and the Browns are going to be happy to move down. I think that's about all we know at this point.
yeah. Well, I think this would be a dream outcome for Tennessee. 12 and 20 to
I
me.
think so too. Yeah.
They're in such like a weird spot for their needs, and I think that would be they should be thrilled. They should try to
Mhm.
trade down, but I don't know if they'll be an option. Okay, so the Giants are up next.
Okay.
This is an interesting one. One of the few teams in the draft that does not need edge. You could go receiver here, and I wouldn't be mad, but I'm going to give you a choice between the running back Jeremiah Love and Caleb Downs, the safety at Ohio State. This is, remember, what you would do, not what the Giants would do.
Right. And I think my answer is going to be different than what they would do. I think they would go Jeremiah
Yeah,
Love.
right.
But I'm gonna go Caleb Downs. I'm just so impressed with him, and it's part of it is just feeling good about where I can get another running back to add to what I have already on the roster from the Giants. As much as I love Jeremiah Love, he's my number 2 player in the draft. I think he's going to be a fantastic pro. I won't be surprised if by the end of his rookie contract, we're talking about him as being a top 5 running back in the league. You know, similar to how we view Bijan Robinson. But with that said, and I think it will be interesting with Harbaugh because he's more of that CEO head coach. He's not, and you look at the Ravens' history drafting and who they usually go after in the first round. It's a mixed bag, and so it's really hard to point to tendencies with what we think the Giants are going to do. But I'm going to go Caleb Downs. I think he's just, do I wish we were a little bit bigger? Do I wish we had testing information on him? Sure. But I'm going to trust the tape. And the tape shows someone that clears the bar clearly as an athlete. But what really separates him is how smart he is and talking to teams about how he has interviewed. I've some guys that I've never seen smile are just grinning, talking about how he like spitting back to them exactly what they do on defense
Yeah,
schematically. Like he speaks their language and
yeah.
can just put it in plain terms how he fits and how he can help. And so I'm going to go Caleb Downs there, the rare safety to go top 5. But if I'm the Giants, I feel comfortable with that.
I'm excited to talk about Caleb Downs this week with Dominique. So we'll get to the top 3 safeties are all really fun, but
They
he is
are.
definitely safety 1. All right, so the Browns have taken Cardinal Tate so far in every draft, and I am going to give him to you as a choice.
Okay.
However, Francis Mauanoa is right there. They
Yeah.
didn't think he'd be here. They thought Arizona was going to take him, and so that is obviously still a very glaring area of need for them. The Browns, of course, are also picking later, so that enters into
Yes.
the equation as well. Is the thought, well, we can get another wide receiver later, or we can get another offensive tackle later. Those are our 2 biggest needs. What would you do?
I think that is interesting part of this. Just the Browns, how do they feel about the second tier receivers and that second tier tackles? Or could they shock us all? And I know they like Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I know they want to get another edge rusher in this draft. Could they surprise us maybe with that second first round pick? But I'm going to go chalk here. I'm going to go Carnell Tate. I think just the ability to add an explosive presence on the outside, because right now, who's their most explosive pass catcher? I mean, it's Fannin, right? It's your tight end. So the chance to add somebody else on the outside that can win vertically, but he's also really good in the short to intermediate game. He catches everything. The contested catch rate is awesome. I mean, the just he doesn't let the ball hit the ground. It doesn't matter if he's wide open or if he's double covered. And so adding that to an offense that desperately needs another weapon, I think that's too good to pass up.
I actually think maybe in the first draft, Tate went earlier to the Giants, so I could be wrong, but it
Mm,
does feel like Tate to the Browns is one of the most chalkiest picks I've seen,
yeah.
maybe outside of Ioane to the Ravens. All right, pick 7, fun one here. Jeremiah Love, once again available
Yeah.
to you. Ruben Bain Jr. has not been drafted.
Right.
What you would do, not what they would do. Every time with Jeremiah Love, I have to reiterate that. What you would do
Right.
if you were running the team.
I, the opportunity to have Jaden Daniels and Jeremiah Love in my backfield is just too enticing. Like I can't.
Really? Okay.
I,
Over Bain
I'm
Jr.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. If I'm the Commanders, obviously we did some work in the offseason to upgrade our pass rush. I don't think we're done, but we did address it, so we feel better about what we have at those spots. I don't know. Maybe it's in the long run not the right value, or I think, but you look at what the Falcons did with Bijan Robinson, and the Falcons have not they've been this perennial playoff team. Yet, if you ask the Falcons, I don't think they regret drafting Bijan where they did at all. And I think it'll be similar with the Commanders, whether or not this leads to the playoffs or not. I don't think the Commanders will regret drafting Jeremiah Love, and just how that it's the ripple effect, right? It's not just what Love gives you with the ball in his hands, but how it makes your passing game better, how it's going to make your defense better because the offense will theoretically be on the field more. So I think that domino effect helps everybody, and I'm going to take him there at 7.
Well, one of the things I will say about the Commanders is the offensive line is already trending in the correct direction,
Yeah,
which
good point.
makes the pick less objectionable to me personally than some of the other teams that I've seen linked with
Right.
Jeremiah Love. And yeah, it would be a very fun backfield with him next to Jay Daniels. All right, the Saints at 8 are like to me one of the strange or not the strangest, but like the most interesting teams in the draft because I feel like they could go in so many different directions.
Yeah.
Receivers, corners, great options on the board for both, including the home, like the locally, Delane. I'm going to give you Delane as an option.
Okay.
And then I'm going to keep Bain Jr. here because while I is not their most glaring need, it remains a need. And I do think, I haven't really seen him talked about with the Saints, but I do think he is a very good fit for Brandon Staley's defense.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm I'm gonna go Bane here. I think that we know the Saints. They like to if Carnell Tate was still available, I think it'd get interesting because they
Yeah.
can't say no to an Ohio State receiver. But also just they like to draft in the trenches, and they did it last year with their left tackle. I think they could do it again here, but on the defensive side of the ball. Chase Young, he started double digit games in his 8-year career just twice, and one of them was last year. And so you hope that continues. But Carl Granderson's a fine player, but you could just get younger at the position, get some more fresh legs, and I think Bane does that for him. So I'm going to go Bane to the Saints at 8.
All right. I love this choice for the Chiefs.
The Chiefs are
Delane.
mad too that Bane just went. I think
Yeah,
they
the
were
Chiefs.
hoping he
I
would
mean that
fall.
the Chiefs and the Bengals at the turn are the ones where
100%.
like if these
Yeah,
defensive guys are all gone, I could have done a trade, but I know we're gonna wait till dude. I think Cowboys trade was so crazy. I just needed
I
to
know.
lay off the trades for a little bit. Okay, Delane still on the board for the Chiefs.
Right.
I'm gonna throw in a Jordan Tyson here.
Ooh,
Pick
I
9
like it. I
to
like
both
it.
both glaring needs.
It is definitely, and I think when you obviously no more Trent McDuffie, but you factor in how they've been able to find
The
corners.
fans keep telling me that. "Ah, you can find a guy in the 4th round. Stop giving us
Right.
corn." All right, well, we'll
Well,
see.
I mean, you factor that in, right? It's not like I don't think that's the reason to go in one way or the other, but it's something to factor in. But you know
They
what?
got
They
they got
found
pick
Rasheed Rice
2,
in the second
which
round. They found receivers. This is a tough one. I Because it's not like if I think if Cornell Tate was here, I think I'd go Cornell Tate, and I'd feel really good about it. Jordan Tyson, I like as a talent. He reminds me a lot of Stephon Diggs because he can create his own separation. He
yeah,
can win at the catch point,
twitched up.
but the durability, that's part of this. And so I'm gonna go with the safer pick, and I'm gonna go with the lane.
Yeah, I mean, we could have almost the exact same Delane versus McCoy debate, right? If we were doing 2 corners.
Yeah,
You go in floor or ceiling, but I mean,
yeah,
Delane's such a good fit for Steve Spagnuolo's defense.
no doubt.
And also, reminder, Chiefs fans, you got pick 29s. This ain't over. Which, of course, maybe you like that second tier of receivers. You're considering that. All right, we are at pick 10. The Bengals are sad because the entire Ohio State defense is off the board, and they just wanted to drive down the street, as they do. Bailey Bain also off the board, as well as Delane. Gosh damn it. Bengals upset. Because we really took defense. Well, my
Yeah,
guy,
is that you talking or the Bengals talking?
I know.
Yeah,
I actually, I think I gave Ioane as an option, but I'm going to go defense here. Okay. Okay. I think these are interesting choices. Well, oh God, that's so rich for the second safety. Okay. McCoy is going to be an option here. Jermod
okay.
McCoy, who I'm kind of obsessed with. The cornerback out of Tennessee. So excited to talk about him on Wednesday. And the other option, the Bengals are in a bad spot if this goes down, is this is so rich for Thieneman.
It is. Yeah.
Dare I? I don't know what
What
else.
about Spencer Fano?
I
Would the
know,
Bengals consider
yeah. Moving
like
him
it?
inside. They do need I we talked about guard. Alright, let's do Fano. 'Cause
Okay,
I know that it does feel like with the Bengals' offensive line, things have stabilized to some degree, but
right.
I do think interior offensive line is not off the table, and having a player who they could potentially move around on the line. I mean, God, now Noah's still there too, but, okay, yeah, I just can't there's no other defensive player other than McCoy who I think at this point in the draft makes sense, and
Right.
unfortunately, the way they shook out is just not great for Cincinnati, and I don't love any of the edges here. So, we are going to go Fano versus McCoy.
Well, it's funny how often we talk about the Cowboys and Bengals being similar, and it feels like they are here too with picks 10 and 12. The difference is the Cowboys are willing to move around where the Bengals aren't. They're just going to stick and pick. They always do. I'm going to lean defense here. I'm going to go Jermon McCoy, although it is awfully tempting to go with the offensive lineman because I do like, especially Fano at this point.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a really good pro for a long time, whether it's at tackle or inside. But I'm going to go Jermon McCoy with a little bit of trepidation because the knee does worry me a little bit. There are some teams that do not have him on the board because of the knee, and so that is something to consider. He very well still might go top 15, but if he does slip a little bit, something for people to keep in mind is some teams just are a little bit worried more so than others. But I'm going to say the Bengals. I'm getting the two thumbs up from the doctors. He's good to go, so we're going to take the corner here.
He ran so fast.
He
That's all
did,
I needed.
yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't hate that if I even though I actually think the Bagels corners have shown some improvement, but yeah, man, that would not be great for them if it goes all that way. All right.
They're hoping one of those edge rushers is there for him.
Yeah,
I don't think see it happening.
Bane. Yeah, I there's such a and this is why I keep choosing the edges. I just think there's such a draw. I have so much trouble getting any of the other edge rushers in the top 10. I'm just like I can't get there. I can't get there with Falk or Mesidor. Okay. So the Dolphins are next, and I'm going to give you a choice between two receivers here at 11. I
Mm.
want to hear you hash it out. We're going to put Tyson back, and I'm going to put in Mekhi Lemon as an option for Miami, which could literally means every type of receiver on earth. So there's not like this is not a hole you're filling, which is why I think it makes it an interesting debate, right? Because they're kind of essentially picking the position in a vacuum.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. So I was just assuming I was going to take an offensive lineman here. But so my options are Lemon and Tyson, and I if I'm sticking to my board, it's Makai Lemon. Tyson I think gives you he's more of the established outside presence, but I think Makai Lemon is I just have a better feel for what I'm getting. How he plays so strong to the catch point. I love the hidden yards that are all over his tape. Like he's rarely tackled where he makes the catch, and part of that is because he's so good at opening those zones. But then he has a feel for maximizing each touch and the yards after the catch, and so I'm going to go Micaiah Lemon here over Tyson at 11
Really interesting. Couldn't get there with him.
with Lemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's part of I did my receivers draft and I put Concepcion.
Oh, hey, yeah.
Can't quit him. Okay, so you know who's thrilled that this is my fault that the offensive linemen have not been presented enough times? The Tennessee Titans.
They're not mad. Yeah.
Because they're picking at 12 with the trade and they have their choice.
Yeah.
So the Titans really need interior offensive line here. And I am going to give God, now I'm looking at okay, so I'm gonna put Fano back
Okay.
between Mananoa and Yowane would be such a area of need for them. But also, like, are you comfortable passing up at Manoa
Mm,
here?
yeah.
I'm gonna give you a choice between Fano and Yowane here. Is it crazy to have Manoa dropping like this? I know
I
everyone seems to
mean,
have him at as like offensive lineman one, but I don't see a player who's that differentiated personally.
Well, and I think it's more so just the fact that he very easily could have gone third, right? And so to
Yeah.
see him fall a little bit is a little, wait, what? Like, just a little surprising. But I don't know. Nothing surprises me in this top 10, this top 15. I'd be surprised if he's still around, but who knows? That's the kind of the fun of this exercise.
Stanmore Jr., like, I mean, I'm looking
Right.
just thinking through, like, that shouldn't stop you from drafting a tackle. Freeling also could be in consideration here. Um,
Do they view JC Latham as the long term right tackle? Do they
yeah,
think they need to move him? I don't. That's a tough call.
Mawanoa could also play. Alright, you know what? Let me back it up. Let's Mawanoa versus Fano. Just do it. Let's do that.
Okay. Well, and honestly, I'm still gonna go Fano, in this situation, just because I think he's the best offensive lineman in the draft, and I think that with the Titans specifically, they're looking for help across the interior, guard and center, and I think Fano, you feel like he can play tackle, guard, or center. There's a lot of versatility there. The athlete is awesome. The way he plays, when they needed a yard, they ran it behind him. Some of those skip pulls, the skip power pulls are awesome on tape. So I'm going to go Fano. I think he's an ascending player, best offensive lineman in the draft. And so if I'm the Titans, I'm over the moon happy that I get him in a trade back situation.
The Rams at 13, Tyson or Mawanoa? Mawanoa, they would view as, their right tackle potentially of the future
Hmm.
here. The Rams have capable offensive tackles, but
Yeah, Warren McClendon, and yeah.
it would be hard for them to not consider it at pick 13. A guy who, we talked about, folks thought could be drafted top 5.
Right. So it would be tough to pass on the receiver here. And honestly, it might be tougher if my option was Concepcion, just because it'd be fun to drop him into that offense. But I'm going to go with the offensive lineman here. It's, offensive lineman, if you almost need 6 or 7 on the roster, right, to feel good about your situation for a long season. And Maui Noah, he was only a right tackle in college. And so the ability to play other positions is more of a potential thing than a realized thing, but I'm gonna go with the tackle here.
The Ravens are thrilled that Jordan Tyson is available as an option at pick 14. However, I alluded to this, the chalkiest pick, Ioane, the most obvious need, also is just perfect scheme fit, makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
You go in flash or you go in well, I'd not say the Titans not substantive, but are we shooting for the moon here or are we taking the safer pick?
Uh, yeah, and I mean, part of me doesn't want to go chalk, but I think I'm going to, just because I love Ioane and what he brings to an offensive line. There's some questions too about him. Is he a left guard only? Can he, play right guard too? Can he play? We'll figure it out. I mean, I love the tape, the way he moves, the way he can be an athletic bulldozer. The offensive line has been a little up and down for me over the last few years, so we're gonna help rectify that with a player like this.
All right, the
Feels like a
Tampa.
trenches draft for the Ravens, so
Yeah,
I think
we
that
got
fits.
well, we got a little run on the trenches here, right? With 3
Yeah.
offensive linemen going. I probably should have, like I said, offered more earlier, but it's just how the cookie crumbled. All right, the Tampa Bay Bucks are not taking an offensive lineman in my draft. It's pick 15. They're one where, the need is so glaring in terms of getting a pass rusher,
Right.
but you do wonder about the timing of it. So I'm going to give you one pass rusher, and that's Akeem Mesidor here.
Over Keldrick Falk. Okay.
Over Keldrick Falk, versus I'll put Kenyon Sadiq up for the first time, the tight end out of Oregon.
Phew. That is tough. And I think in real life, it's tough as well if they because you're right, edge rusher just by far feels like where they need to go. But do they like any of these guys beyond the top 3, whether it's Keldrick Falk or Mesidor? And I mean, usually Jason Light's a guy that leans towards younger players. In the first round, I think Vita Vea was the only one that was over 22 years old. So in real life, it's tough as well. I'm going to lean offense here, and go Sadiq. He's you can argue that with Chris Godwin and his injury issues, like maybe wide receivers a little more of a need than what just looks like on paper. I don't have a true weapon per se at tight end. I have a solid tight end group. I like that tight end group, but adding someone else like this, a weapon like Sadiq, who has speed, has the ability to win in different ways, I'm going to give that type of toy to play with for Baker Mayfield.
Would you have taken Falk over Sadiq?
That would have been closer. I am a believer in Falk.
Okay.
What he's going to be 4 years from now is a lot different
Yeah.
than what he is now.
I think
But
that was my thing. I was like, the Bucks should be in win now mode, and that's kind of when I went
fair,
Mesidor because he's the more
totally
polished
fair.
prospect. But like, the GM doesn't work that way. Like to your point, he takes a long view. That's why he's a very good GM, and so
Hmm.
he might show some patience there. It's an
Yeah, I
interesting
mean,
spot, right? It's an interesting
right.
spot
Well,
with him.
they're probably a best player available team, right? Just because
Yeah.
they're that could be Yowane if he's there. Like I don't. We weren't talking a ton about Emeka Ibuka in the first round of the Bucks last year, but now in hindsight, obviously not just because of Buka had a good rookie year, but Mike Evans has moved on, and like it looks like that was 100% the right pick.
The Jets round out the first half of the first round. They had Arvell Reese with their second overall pick, and with pick 16, could go in literally any direction. This team, not literally, but
Hmm.
most directions. Tyson, obviously, is going to be up for consideration. Jordan Tyson, the receiver. But you mentioned him, Concepcion. You said you like him, so I'll throw him up here as an alternative. Would you go Concepcion or Tyson if you were the Jets?
Yeah, that's tough because I do like Concepcion, and just how dynamic he is. Just what he can do with the ball in his hands, both as a receiver and even as a punt returner as well. But I'm going to go with Tyson here. I do think he is. If you told me he's going to start 15, an average of say 15 games a year the next 4 or 5 years, he might be in contention to be the first receiver drafted. I think
Yeah.
it really just comes down to the durability questions. Like I said, I like the ability to be a Stephon Diggs like weapon for that offense. Pair him with Garrett Wilson, whoever's at quarterback. That I think that makes sense.
All right, let's take a quick break, come back, and get to the second half of the first round. All right, we're back. Pick 17 is the Detroit Lions, who are pumped that there wasn't a run on offensive. Not that there's still some interesting offensive linemen available.
Hmm.
It's pretty hard to pick positions for the Lions other than offensive line at this point. And Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. I don't think I've mentioned him once, right? He could very
Hmm.
well go. You would know better than I based on what people are saying, but oh man, there is he might be seems to be like one of the biggest risers in the entire draft. So we're gonna go Monroe Freeling versus a tackle who does seem kind of Lions to me and Caden Proctor.
Yeah, and that's tough. I think if I was talking to a scout as he was leaving the Alabama Pro Day, and he said straight up, if we felt better about the consistency with Proctor, just felt better that he was going to fully realize his potential, he'd be a top 5 lock in this draft without question. Um, because just I mean, for a 360 pounder, the explosiveness is it's just rare stuff. But I think I'm going to go Monroe Freeling here, who I think there's a better chance, or I feel better about his floor, I guess, even though he is a young player. And talking to scouts at Lucas Oil Stadium during the offensive line workout, Freeling was very up and down because he's just a young player. There's a lot he just hasn't seen yet. But I think you're encouraged by how much better he got throughout the Georgia season this past year. Now, obviously, they're moving where it sounds like they're moving Penny Sewell to left tackle. Does that mean we're going to try Freeling at right tackle? I don't know. We'll figure that out. But I'm going to go with the long term play in Freeling.
Minnesota Vikings are next. I'm going to give you a choice between two players in the secondary. I'm not pitting the safeties head to head. One of the players is Dylan Thieneman, a little bit on the
Hmm.
nose as a Harrison Smith successor, but it is
Right.
what it is. And the other option I am going to give you is a cornerback, Avion Terrell out of Clemson.
Okay. I'm very eager to see where Terrell ends up in the draft. Had
Yeah.
the pro day, ran in the 4.6s, and I know he's dealing with the injury, but it just wasn't not ideal for a corner, which is obviously a stopwatch position. I think either way makes sense. Brian Flores would love to add more competition to the corner room or add another impact safety. It feels overplayed at this point with
Yeah.
Thieneman going to the Vikings, but with these two choices, I think I'm going to go with Thieneman.
Do you have Cinnamon over, McNeil Warren
I
in your
do.
okay,
I
that's what I
do.
thought.
Yeah. And I it's funny.
I
Like
just finished watching
McNeil
McNeil Warren.
Warren, yeah, he was one of my favorite players back in
Yeah.
September. I've been talking about him for a long time, but at some point, I think some people passed me, liking him a little bit more, but I still like him as a first round guy.
Yeah, he'll come up again, I'm sure. All
Oh
right, the
yeah.
Carolina Panthers are next at 19,
Hmm.
and they're
They're
funny,
interesting.
man. They are interesting, because I keep saying this, but, like, the team is a lot more complete than I thought,
Hmm.
and they as a result, there's not, like, an obvious direction. I am going to give you a choice on both sides of the ball.
Okay.
We're gonna put Keldrick Falk here,
Okay.
who, because I do think there's still a need at pass rusher, even with the addition of Jalen Phillips.
Right.
But, you have a polished pass rusher now in the building, so continue. I know they double dipped last year at the position. And then I did Concepcion last week, so I don't want to do him here this week. Um, mm,
Omar Cooper
I
Jr.
I know, I was thinking about it because I've been trying to look for, like, a guy who I feel like complements the group, that
They
they
brought
do
him in for a
have,
30 visit.
and he would complement it. So okay,
Hmm.
let's do that. Let's do Falk versus Cooper Jr., whose skill set I do think fits into that receiving group, adds something different.
Right. I think that's a key point is filling out the room and helping your young quarterback. I Keldrick Falk is the higher ranked player for me, but I love Omar Cooper Jr. and I think that's where I'm going to go. I think the idea of because McMillan, Jalen Coker, like that's a good 1-2 punch, but you upgrade that third option with a guy like Omar Cooper Jr. And I get it. This is what the third year in a row receiver in the first round. But man, I would love to see that for Bryce, and I'd love to see that for the Panthers offense to take that next step.
Wow. Tennessee Titans are sad. Receivers off the board. Because remember, they had pick 20, and with
Hmm.
pick 12, they added an offensive lineman, Fano, which was great. They're thrilled, helping out the young quarterback. Still some interesting receiver options, though, including Casey Concepcion. So I'm going to give this is the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to give you Concepcion versus. Should I do Falk? One second, let me just
Yeah.
see. I could also bring in Boston here as an option. We will do. Let's do Boston. We haven't talked about
Okay.
him. I don't. Yeah, they are determined to help their young quarterback in this
Yeah.
draft.
Well,
So Concepcion, they added the offensive lineman. Now you're choosing between two receivers: Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston, the wide receiver out of Washington.
yeah, I mean, they definitely did that with the offensive lineman, and now they're going to do it with the receiver. And I'm going to lean Casey Concepcion. He's such a fun player. Yeah, he's one of the most versatile players in the draft because again, he can be a return man, can line him up across the formation. He's just like you don't really feel like if he would have tested, I don't know that he would have tested like amazing. I don't think he would have ran a 4.3. But when you watch him play, he just seems to outpace everybody with just those gliding strides that he has. And so he can win deep. He can win with the ball in his hands underneath. I just think he's a very receiver friendly or quarterback friendly receiver. And that's exactly what they need in Tennessee with Cam Ward. So yeah, I think if you combine Zay Flowers and Luther Burden, I think
I was just
it's
about to ask if you had a comp for him. That's a
yeah,
funny one. Yeah.
Flowers and Burden, combine those 2 guys, and I think the result's Concepcion.
Flowers is a good one. There's definitely some similarities in their game. I did young Emmanuel Sanders was mine on
Okay,
the receiver.
yeah.
I like I love him so much. Yeah, I mean, if you're a Titans fan, how do you feel that you came out of the first round with Fano and Concepcion versus Jeremiah Love or taking the edge at 4?
Yeah, I think you have to feel good. I mean, it's Love and the explosiveness he would have brought to that offense is awesome, and we know Robert Saleh loves, just adding pass rushers. I think what, in 4 years with the Jets, they drafted a pass rusher twice in the first round. So, I think there's still a realistic way that that's the way it happens for them, but to come away with an offensive lineman that you can play up and down the line and a receiver who's going to help from day one and make a quarterback better, I think the Titans are feeling good about that.
Pittsburgh Steelers, 21.
Mm.
Caden Proctor back on the board for them. Tackle out of Alabama versus Ty Simpson. Let's do it.
Ooh, okay. Um, with those two, and I think they're maybe a little bummed that the receivers got wiped out a little bit here. With Jordan Tyson and Concepcion and Omar Cooper Jr. all off the board.
One of the few teams that legitimately does not have a need for Denzel Boston in the entire
True.
draft.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, so I think I'm gonna go. I'm going to go Proctor here, and we're going to play him at guard. I think that might be his best long-term position, anyways. But we're going to get the best five out there, and that's going to include, because I think right now they're left guards. I think Spencer Anderson. So adding Proctor to the mix, plugging him in at guard, I think that gets our best five on the field, and I think upgrades what we put on the field last year for whoever's at quarterback. So Ty Simpson, I think, is going to have to wait a little bit longer to hear his name called.
The Chargers are a tricky team because their most glaring need, which I think is the interior offensive line, does not
Right.
correspond particularly well with this draft and how they're picking. But there are some interesting players available to them here that I'm going to offer to you. One, I'm going to put Keldrick Falk back
Okay.
on the board, who I think makes sense for them. I also think that's a need that people aren't talking about enough.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna throw in too early for I really like Caden McDonald, and I do think that's a big need for them. Eh, let's do Peter Woods out of Clemson.
Okay. I think this is also, I think, a sneaky spot for that second guard to come off the board, whether that's
I like
Chase
it. Do
Besontis
you feel good
or
about taking that second guard at
I
22?
I
The need is there, but like after watching them, how do you feel about it?
I think that I think Besontis is gonna go in the first round. I do.
Okay.
And I think it'll be interesting to see. Honestly, once you get to, like, say, pick 17, like 17 to 40, I just don't think there's a much of a difference at that point between these guys. And so if the team like the Chargers maybe had a higher grade on Besontis, I wouldn't be surprised. Um, in this scenario, I'm gonna go with Falk. I've got the much higher grade on him than I do with Woods. Falk is, when he was asked to play in a three down front where he's 4-eye, five technique, like I think if you put him in more advantageous spots to get after the quarterback, he could. But he's a really good run defender, still very young. He's so long, 35-inch arms. And he's going to a team where he doesn't necessarily have to be a starter from day one. He can be part of the rotation and then eventually be the replacement for Khalil Mack or Bud Dupree.
Yeah. Khalil Mack just on the 1-year deal.
Right.
And who knows if they'll get a full season of health. And yeah, I mean, assuming the Chargers continue playing that same light box style, Falk is a very well-rounded player. Mammoth guy. I've enjoyed watching him. Okay, 23, the Eagles. So last time I had them drafting Denzel Boston, they traded A.J. Brown, or was signaling that they're going to. We're not going to do that again just because we did that already. So that's not going to be an option I'm going to give you. I'm going to put up pass rusher and a safety. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren
Okay.
versus Akeem. Oh, God, he's so not. Doesn't feel like an Eagles player at all.
Right.
I'm like, Mesidor doesn't really make sense to me. Okay, this is a little bit off, maybe potentially off the reservation. I'm going to put Iana Chor here as the Lane Johnson replacement of the future, knowing that you're probably getting to the end of Johnson's career. The Eagles are the type of team that do draft for future needs.
Mm-hmm.
This really depends on how you feel about Iana Chor, the right tackle out of Arizona State. So it's him versus McNeil-Warren.
This is tough because I think that this team is much more likely to go with the tackle. That just seems like their MO and the players they like to draft. But if I'm drafting, I'm gonna go with McNeil Warren. I mean, 6'3", 205. His ability to patrol the field, whether he's lined up as in a two high shell or if he's playing more of that nickel dime flexibility. I mean, I think there's just a ton of upside here with this player. I'm going to take McNeil Warren, and the safety is a position that they can get better at, and so I'm going to take the higher rated player on my board.
Cleveland Browns took Carnell Tate, pick 6. They are
Right?
back on the board. Gonna give you a choice between. I'll do Mesidor here because I do think that would
Okay.
be a very fun fit. Versus, I'm gonna throw in a different offensive lineman. I'm gonna put Blake Miller out of Clemson as an option
Mm.
for.
I and that's tough. I think a reason why we're seeing Monroe Freeling at left tackle so often, or at 6 for the Browns mocked so often, is because it looks like on paper that left tackle spot is what they're missing. And obviously, Blake Miller was a right tackle, and he's probably a right tackle only. But at the same time, I think the Browns are going to be open minded about how they're going to get the best 5 on the field, and whether that means moving Titus Howard around or just they're going to have to be creative. So I'll go Blake Miller here. I think that he might have the best football character in the draft. The guy he's tough as heck. He doesn't miss time. He's just an easy player to like. And so I think for a team that just needs to collect good offensive linemen, that's what he offers. And I think for the Browns to come away with your perimeter weapon and then just a really solid and sturdy offensive lineman, I think it's a win for them in the first round.
The Chicago Bears at 25. Defense seems like the direction everyone expects them to go in. I'll give you a choice between, once again, Mesidor and Caden
Mm.
McDonald, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State.
Yeah, and they need both spots, right? I think both they want to get better on the edge, they want to get better in the middle, and both players will help do that. Mestor is so interesting because it just, you're talking about such an outlier. He's already gonna be 25 years old. He didn't test. He didn't have. He had his best season when he was a 24-year-old going up against college guys, and so like all of those reasons are why you should have some level of doubt. Now, I think everyone's levels will be different depending on who you talk to, but he's a good football player, and I think at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do. And so for the Bears, I'm going to add the good football player, and I like Caden McDonald a lot as well. But I'm going to add the guy that's I feel like going to give me more pressure on the quarterback and put a little more of a premium on that compared to what Caden McDonald brings me in the run game. So give me Mesidor, and just I'll let him loose against quarterbacks and see what happens.
Caden McDonald stays on the board as an option for the Buffalo Bills.
Mm.
The alternative now is another pass rusher, Cassius Howell, out of Texas
Mm.
A&M, who we have not brought up yet. Do you have him higher or lower than Mesidor?
Lower. I'm
Okay.
not. I'm not huge on Howell. I like him. I just more as a second round player, but I get the appeal with him because he is he's going to bring you juice off the edge, getting after the quarterback, and that's the Bears, or excuse me, the Bills need that. I feel okay about my defensive tackles. I think, or well enough. Think about Walker. Think about Ed Oliver.
Feel good about them against the run?
I
Jim Leonard, 3-4.
yeah, right,
Holding
right.
up.
Oh,
Not trying to sway the jury here, and just wanted to
no,
something I've been
no,
thinking
it's
about with this
fair.
team.
It's fair. I'm gonna go with the pass rusher though. I'm gonna go with the guy that I feel good is going to get after the quarterback, and I feel like whether it's Malachi Lawrence or whether it's one of these other pass rushers, I just feel like that's what the Bills are really missing on that side of the ball.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a choice for the Niners that I think is fun.
Okay,
Bisantis,
right.
throw up here. You mentioned him, Chase Bisantis, the guard. Caleb Lomu,
Mm.
tackle out of Utah. So 2 offensive line choices.
And Lomu's a guy that is so talented. He moves so well. Just clearly needs to get stronger. And he's a young player, third year sophomore,
Kyle
has some NFL
Shanahan, zone
right,
blocking.
right. Has some NFL bloodlines, which you like, and this is a fun draft for NFL bloodlines. Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs.
Yeah.
Do you know Ladarius Webb? You know his son's in this draft.
No.
How crazy is
Wait,
that?
what's his son's name?
Ladarius Webb Jr.
Oh,
I
I
know,
have no
crazy,
idea.
right? He's a corner.
We're now at the age of the NFL sons, and it's pretty
It's
upsetting.
I scouted Ladarius Webb. Like, it's just it's nuts. But this is why people need to get the beast, right?
Yeah, get
So
his info.
I'm gonna go Lomu. I know it feels like, okay, the Niners have been, flirting with the tackle of the future for a long time, and how long's Trent actually have? But I think Lomu can be the long term answer, and then be an immediate swing for you, and give you. Yeah, I'm sure he'll see the field as a rookie, and then of course be the long term option.
Well, we are at an interesting point in this draft. We are nearing the end.
Uh-huh.
However, I'm going to give you another trade. Let me get the actual pick right. This is something I tried to manifest in my wide receiver um, pod with Ben. It's pick 28. It's the Houston Texans, team that I have struggled to pick for every time.
Yeah.
I will give you Besantis as an option here. Continue
Hmm.
improving that offensive line. The other option is the Las Vegas Raiders are on the phone
Hmm.
and they are willing to part ways with pick 36, I believe is their next one,
Yep.
right? Pick 36. Okay, so they would be jumping from 36 to 28. And in the process, will give you a third rounder next year,
Mm.
which is pretty good value next year's
Yeah.
draft, because they desperately want Denzel Boston for Fernando Mendoza Jr. Or
Mm.
Fernando Mendoza, they're added a junior, which is just a marriage of quarterback and receiver I tried to manifest in my head. I think it would be so great. So,
It
and
would.
I really want them to add a receiver. And they are worried. The Raiders are doing this because they are looking at the draft and they see that stretch of Kansas City,
Right.
Miami, or well, not
Right.
Miami took a receiver, but New England, and they are worried that they are not going to have their, and then the beginning of the second as well. They feel like if they sit pat, they are not going to get one of the premium receivers. So that is your option if you're Houston, Besantis, or you trade down and you pick up a third next year.
It would be a very Houston Texans thing to do, to move back like that, get the extra third, and next year, how'd they get this extra third? Oh yeah, that's right. Like that. That's a very Nick Casario thing to do. I'm gonna stick and pick though. I'm gonna take this Montes.
Wow,
Yeah,
really?
I am. That would be fun for the
You like
Raiders.
it?
They're gonna have to wait and take Elijah Surratt in the third, and
I
pair
like him
him
too.
back up with Mendoza. But I'm gonna stick and take Besantis. I'm gonna continue to invest in my offensive line, which I've done already in the offseason, but I'm gonna add another guy in Besantis who I really like. I think
Getting that
uh,
impression.
yeah, I mean he's a really good. Like I said, I think he's gonna be a first round pick. I think he's what he brings me in the run game, the way he finishes. I think he's a good player.
All right. Kansas City Chiefs, who we have been taken earlier? Delane. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a pretty safe pick. So Boston, one of your choices here immediately. The other option I am going to give you for the Chiefs, we don't need a corner now, is let's go. Let's go TJ Parker here,
That's a good one.
who is the pass rusher.
Clemson,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, Clemson, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think that the Felix Ananduke Zoma pick in the first round has not worked out, safe to say. So, they missed out on Ruben Bain earlier. So coming back with TJ Parker makes sense. But I can't pass on Denzel Boston here. I think that to me, like that's something I just want to see. Denzel
I would
Boston in
like
that
to see it.
offense. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. Put him on
And
the outside,
size.
work him in the slot. I mean, you can work him across the formation and give Mahomes that big target that catches everything.
All right. Yeah, I mean that it's been missing in that offense. Boston keeps falling, man. I like him so much more, I feel like, than how this draft is shaking out, as evidenced by the fact that I had the Raiders trying to trade up for him. So I think he's a very underrated player. All right, 30. The Dolphins are back. The Dolphins, as you recall, took Mekhi Lemon at
Right.
receiver. Still needs throughout many different directions that they could go in. I am gonna give you a choice between Avion Terrell,
Okay.
the cornerback out of Clemson, and screw it. Let's throw Ty Simpson back. No, no, no. Actually, no, never mind. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that because I know you're gonna say no.
Okay.
I want to give you a legit choice. Avion Terrell, and let's do a different corner. Let's do Colton Hood out of Tennessee.
Okay. I think, and when you look at, John Eric Sullivan, new GM of the Dolphins, coming from the Packers, they like those long corners. Colton Hood he's a good sized player. I have these two players ranked very closely, and I like Terrell more. The offseason, the way things have gone, give me a little bit of doubt, but I still like Terrell a lot, even if the didn't have the testing that you wanted. He had 8 forced fumbles the last 2 years. What corner does that? Like there's just a honey badger aura
He's
to
very
Terrell.
feisty.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm gonna go, yeah, Makai Lemon and Terrell, two of the feistiest players
Yeah, right.
in the draft
A little
to
small, a
Miami.
little small.
Yeah, little bit, little bit.
Yeah, but I think Dolphins fans that would be fun. All right,
Yeah.
2 more picks. New England Patriots on the board, 31. Looking at my options here. I think I'm gonna throw TJ Parker back into the mix because he
Okay.
would be my next edge. And then let me look at the receivers again. Could do something weird. Like, I feel like this is reaching for any of these guys right now. I'm looking at all the receivers. It feels a little early, so I'm gonna actually nix
Probably.
out of that. Yeah.
Uh, what tackles we have left?
That's
Uh,
the I mean, next move was gonna be looking at the offensive line.
Arizona
Oh,
State.
Ianachor.
Yeah.
All right. Let's put up Ianachor back on here. And the Patriots have a little bit of room to have some patience with an offensive lineman if they were to draft one at the end of the first round. Versus TJ Parker, Jeremiah Fox, the pass rusher.
Right. Yeah, and Morgan Moses isn't getting any younger.
One
I'll
year left on his
go.
contract, I think. So carry on.
Right, right. I'll go Ihanachor. I think he's your right tackle of the future. You've got Will Campbell, who they still hope is the left tackle of the future. And look, Ihanachor is still raw. He started playing the sport 5 years ago. And there's going to be bumps along the road, but the talent that he brings, the movement skills, the way that he finishes, the physicality, I'll bet on that. So I think obviously that clip of Vrabel and him at the pro day went viral, and I think that yeah, I think they probably liked what they saw with him, and so they wouldn't be mad if he's still on the board here at 31.
All right, pick 32, final option, and we're doing another trade.
Ooh, okay.
Option. Okay, so one option is Colton Hood, the cornerback who it's interesting because everyone's like, he's so Seahawky, and it's like, what? Yes, but you could argue what the Seahawks are looking for at the position has evolved. I mean, I've also
Hmm.
really like there's some not to monologue about this, but there are also other corners later that I do feel fit the profile. So
That's
just want
fair.
to there's some other guys, Chris Johnson, yeah. So that's one option. The other option is it's an interdivision folk trade.
Okay.
Which, I think is fine. The Arizona Cardinals calling, and they want to trade into the first round to draft Ty Simpson. You would get pick 34, which obviously is only 2 away, and a fourth.
Okay.
So it's not much.
Not
However,
much.
you're barely dropping, right?
Right.
But you do lose the first round option, the benefits of picking the first round.
And you're potentially helping your quote unquote
Rival.
rival, or
Yeah, right. Yeah.
so there's a little
Or
bit of.
you're helping yourself, depending on how you look at
I was
Tyson.
gonna say it depends on how you feel about Ty Simpson, because uh,
Throw this in, whatever. We're just doing this for fun. So,
if Arizona's calling you, I think you have a good idea who the pick is going to be. If you're Seattle, you're going into the draft with 4 picks, so the opportunity, even if it is a fourth, Ideally, you're hoping to maybe recoup some day two capital, but even a fourth, and especially the Cardinals fourth, which is early in the round, I think you have to do it. And I think you feel good that just dropping a few spots, there's still going to be, whether it's Colton Hood, whether it's Keelan Rutledge, whoever it is, you still
Yeah.
feel good that he's going to be there in the second round. So I think we have to make this trade.
Um, I could probably, I mean, this is the only way I have Simpson going when I've been doing this,
Yeah.
is the Cardinals too are the only team that I keep.
That's
So
why
they're,
it's hard.
yeah, it's
When
hard.
you do a mock draft, beside the
Yeah.
Jets, the Cardinals, maybe an outside shot of the Rams, but it's hard to find realistic spots. Um, I think I think there's a good chance he's still around round two as we go into Friday night.
It's gonna be the big storyline of round one. Let's wrap by saying, is there anyone you were surprised didn't get taken in this draft? And if you can say their name, and I can tell you if.
I think no. I mean, most of the big names went. I think my highest graded player that we didn't say was Chris Johnson. I love him out of San Diego State.
He's the
He's
one
so
on the Seahawks. I feel like would be great.
Yeah, and that's why if you're Seattle, Colton Hood, Chris Johnson, one of them will be there for you in the second.
Agreed.
Um, I like him quite a bit. I mean, he was really the only one that I have ranked as a top 30 player that I'm surprised. No, so we didn't have any defensive tackles, right?
No, I didn't offer Banks. I offered Woods like once.
Yeah,
McDonald, I offered a few
McDonald.
times, and he
Yeah,
said no. It is not. It is. I Like I said, I'm going to talk about them later this week. They are flat. I mean, McDonald is you're safe. Hey, like we know what we're getting here.
right,
So if
right.
the need aligns, like with a Chicago or a Buffalo, maybe. But the other defense, there's like the three techs. I'm just not. They're flawed, man. Like I'm really
Yeah,
struggling
they
to put
are.
them in the first round. So, yeah, that would be the one that. But otherwise, I've been saying the same thing. There aren't that many surprises because it's not a stacked first round. So it's not like how
Yeah.
did nobody take, but yeah,
I
we have pretty much different players, but the same players seem to be going there.
Right, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of those pass rushers maybe get in there, Malachi Lawrence or Zion Young or
Zion Young.
yeah, but I
Well,
think because like I said, I think between pick 17 and 40, all those guys are kinda lumped together for a lot of teams, and so maybe one of those pass rushers would get in there, but yeah, I don't think nobody that we said in the mock, is I think would be a surprise if they ended up in the first round.
he's Dane Brugler. You can buy the Beast. You can get it anywhere. Not anywhere. You can get it at The Athletic. Why do I say that?
Yes.
I'm so used to saying anywhere you get your pods. Go to theathletic.com. Truly, it is essential. It is fun. You will sound smarter than your friends talking about the draft. Also, you can use it, and then whenever your team does, you can learn immediately insane amounts of knowledge about the players that they take. That's for me the biggest because I just don't know very, very much about these guys off the field, and I really love all the little facts about. People were making fun of me because I found out that R. Mason's Thomas's name is just R,
I
or
just
the
are.
R.
Yeah, doesn't stand for
I
anything.
learned that this
Yeah.
week, and I was very tickled by that. Folks, truly, you should go get it. It is amazing. Dane, thank you so much for doing this. So much fun every year.
Oh, I enjoyed it. Thanks, Mina.